We can say that despite all efforts, all sincerity shown, Manipur continues to burn. It's been 50 days since ethnic violence erupted in the hill state. One of the point of contention is that the majority of people, including BJP MLAs, are unhappy with Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's handling of the entire situation. However, Biren Singh has managed to get a new lease of life after meeting Home Minister Amit Shah in National Capital on Sunday. He was supported publicly. He was asked to continue his work properly and ensure that everyone is on board. This means that Biren Singh will remain in the helm of affairs in Manipur as of now. In New Delhi, Singh had a detailed discussion with the Home Minister, who advised him to establish peace in the state and revive dialogue across communities. And in the latest, a mob of 1,500 women, a story which we had been following, Brijesh.
Absolutely.
They surrounded a target area, stopped a counter-insurgency operation in the Imphal on late Saturday. The mob forced army to release 12 cadres of the band KYKL. Yes, a band KYKL. And this is not the first time that women are actively participating in the tussle going on in the violent, torn state. During the recent clashes, women groups here have taken to the streets to protest against the government, and also the operations launched by the security forces to flush out armed miscreants and recover looted weapons and ammunition. So why are women out? Two important things. Biren Singh to stay, and why are women out? Women have become the forefront, the face of community action. I am not saying that the women have joined insurgents, but they have become part of community action to free their own people. And they have become the frontline leaders because they stop the convoy. They create a sort of a subtle pressure on the army which immobilize them. You don't use hard tactics on women and children. It's not done anywhere. People don't take it lightly. The incident can be seen from the perspective that Manipur, which has witnessed several unrest in the past, women here have played significant roles, are at the helm of affairs in almost all sphere. So at one point of time, you have all party meeting, you have people talking to each other, you have leaders saying that this should be done, that should not be done, they should be allowed to visit the state. But on the other hand, the state of Manipur is witnessing a different phenomena. General Meston, I will not preface a question for you. I want your raw thought to come on this.
Yeah, my raw thought is that firstly, I belong to the Indian Army. I've put in 40 years. And frankly, it would be incorrect for me to comment because I was not there on the ground. But yes, the issue of women has happened also in Kashmir Valley. Children have also been used. Here also the women have been used. I do not know how we have been handling there and how it has been handled here. Beyond this, I think as a soldier, it would be morally incorrect for me to comment. I do understand. I have my individual thoughts on this, but perhaps it will be on social media. So I will leave it at that. But yes, one thing I would say, after hearing the Chief Minister, that he has stated very clearly certain issues. But one thing I have also been stating, that everything has to be time bound. If you recollect, I stated that in the armed forces, the orders are that by so and so date, so and so time, this shall be implemented. Similarly here, now the violence has been going on since more than 50 days and things continue the way it is. And it is a very sorry state of affairs that it is not being controlled. And I personally feel army and the paramilitary forces can only suppress, but it is a political resolution. Political resolve has to be there. The political will has to be there. This problem could have been resolved in the first 2 days itself. And I have no doubts on that. Women being used effectively. See, this has become a tactics today to start using women. After all, who's mobilizing the women? Women have been educated by someone. That also needs to be investigated. Someone is getting the women on board. Same things have happened in Kashmir Valley. So, it's a very tricky situation. And I personally feel it is going out of hands. And is the is our country prepared to allow it to continue? Because if we analyze it, it is going to have long-term ramifications on the security and integrity of India. Now I'll explain how. It's a very sensitive border state. Today, our number one stated enemy obviously is China and Pakistan. What does it imply? We have to deploy huge number of forces, especially on the LAC with China and including with Pakistan. We cannot ever afford to relax the guard. Indian Army has got a strength ceiling. We cannot exceed the strength which has been stipulated by the government of India. So we have to govern, function within that resources. Now, if there are limited resources of manpower, that manpower, obviously the priority is the line of actual control, the LC and the international border with Pakistan. And of course, now if we are committed everywhere, now I think the Chief Minister did analyze that there are more than 1 lakh security forces. I'm not specifically talking about army. We have large number of army people present. Is it good for our country? The army's prime interest today is we are extremely worried about China. We have had the Galwan clash, we have had the Doklam Plateau incident, and today Chinese, the way they are developing the infrastructure, developing the villages all along. So if we continue with this kind of a scenario, which is based along the LAC, from where do we get the troops? Obviously, we have to pick up the troops from some other places, which will be now compromising with our national security. And if this problem continues for a long time, let me tell you, since I have operated in this area, leave aside the Manipur Valley, the other area is totally hilly tract, mountainous areas, dense jungles, Nagaland, the Manipur surrounding hills, and of course Mizoram, and further Arunachal Pradesh. And right is, of course, towards the east is the Myanmar Valley. All this is very densely popular, dense forests are there. God forbid tomorrow if this continues and this proliferates to the other two neighboring hills and it takes a dimension of the ethnicity the way it is going. Let me tell you, we will have to have a long-term commitment, deployment of Indian Army and the security forces here. Can we afford it? The answer is very clear, no. We have to prioritize. Our priority is China and Pakistan. If internal wars, we are now going to use the army. And if this is not stopped, it will continue. We'll have to deploy huge and operating for armed forces in these jungle areas is not easy. You'll have to deploy huge number of forces. There are dense jungles. The terrain permits, the terrain obviously lends advantage to the terrorists over there or to the people who are coming from Myanmar. An army cannot be deployed at every inch of ground. We have seen this enough in J&K itself. J&K today we have huge deployment along the that is the counter infiltration grid. Yet terrorists are infiltrating despite adequate fencing, despite having adequate deployment. So this, if we get involved here, it is at the cost of your priority, which is the line of actual control in China. And if this happens tomorrow, China is going to take advantage and start, doing nibbling again in the LSE. So long-term interest we have to keep in mind, and let us not continue this. I think this violence should cease by a particular date and time. Why allow to proliferate? And this solution is a political solution. I think that is what it is. The other day, if you recollect, I mentioned, why can't the women are being used? Why are they not being used for peace marches? Get women from both the
I think, General Beston, that's a fair point. Rajesh, tell me one thing. For Spear Corps, Army, they have come out with a tweet. They have given the location and they said that this happened and they did this to avoid the collateral. How do you see this development taking place? And it's not a joke to have 1,500 people led by a column of women. The arms remain with the army, but the militants had to be released because army could calculate that if they, if they become aggressive, they would have been collateral.
Yeah. So, am I audible now?
You are audible, Rajesh.
Yeah. So, I think you have shown two footage in this thing. So, one was the press meet briefed by the Honorable former Chief Minister of Manipur, who actually was considered one of the tough Chief Minister. And during his time, actually, a lot of counterinsurgency operation was conducted, and even there are allegations of the fake encounters of 1,500 fake encounters were there. And Manipur was actually literally a very peaceful state, in fact, before this violence occurred. And he also said that is India part of India? Is Manipur part of India? Then why the Prime Minister is actually completely silent? Why there is no political commitment to actually resolve this conflict? So this question has been even asked by the former Chief Minister. Actually, it's actually give a very underlying meaning that the government of India actually they are not determined, rather they are actually wanting to continue this kind of violence, and both the Kukis and Meiteis are divided, and the state can be ruled. And this is actually the problem lies. And even the Home Minister of the Honorable Home Minister actually he started meeting with the Kuki MLAs, Naga MLAs, and Meitei MLAs. So instead of trying to control the violence and peace, but they are doing politics of dividing people, and people are really condemning such kind of divide and rule, because in this point of time, what Manipur need is peace, restoration of law and order, and of the innocent life of the both Kukis and Meiteis are terribly, horribly, affected, both the communities. So the sincere effort from the government is actually required. As far as your question is concerned, even in the last 50 days of this violence, the larger Manipuri women or even the Meiteis in the larger population, they have actually have a very suspicious of the role of the Assam Rifles. And in many of the media report has said that the Assam Rifles were protecting the Kuki militant, and they did not actually intervene when a lot of attack happened from the Kuki militant. And there is a general perception that the larger forces are not to actually protect the Meitei population, rather to actually protect the Kuki, the violence. So this perception is very dangerous. That is why many women thought that these operations actually should also be conducted in the hill area, and those involved, Kuki militant who actually try to exploit the situation on the 3rd May in the peaceful rally, they actually take advantage and they started attacking the communities, and this violence started. So what the people, especially in the valleys, they're demanding that all the Sioux militant actually has to be cancelled. The abrogation of the agreement have to be cancelled, and those armed militant have to be disarmed. So instead of disarming the main perpetrator, now they are focusing on the valley. So it actually shows that the government should have actually already disarmed those Kuki militant, and there is no need for any combing operation in valley, because these groups of people who actually looted arms, they would surrender, and people will also ask them that now you actually surrender your arms. But that kind of opportunity is not given by the government. Rather, they are protecting the Kuki militant, and the Home Minister have not said a single word against the act of the Sioux militant or any militant involvement. Rather, they are saying that they should be live in the designated camp. The question is, they have already breached the agreement of the government of India and the militant, that they have to live in the designated camp. The guns cannot be carried out in the public places. So all this agreement have already breached, already broken by those group of vested interests. And then government of India not taking action. This is the beginning. That is why the general perception thought that since the other side is actually given free movement or even not taken action, and in the Imphal, you are actually the last forces are in the Imphal.
Mr. Rajesh, I know you have answered, you have taken a lot of things